everyone, this is Nikita. Thank you for joining me in this video. In this series of video, we would talk about decisioning rule in PEGA. Decisioning is a very important part of our PEGA development, so we will concentrate on that. So there are many decisioning rules that we would go through in this particular series. The first one, which is the core or which is the agenda for this particular video, is decision table in PEGA. So what is a decision table in PEGA? A decision table is a set of conditions to evaluate and the results to return. So based on some properties and the value, we specify some condition on the table and it produces results. So these are very fundamental to enforcing business decision. Business decision keeps on changing. It's very dynamic. So decision table is very easy to use, and it can also be delegated to business users so that they can change it on the go without any release. So this is the reason why decision table is used extensively throughout PEGA development. Also, where can we call decision table? So decision table can be called from flow, activity, data transform, decision table, decision tree, declare expression, and many more. So these are the important places from which we call a decision table. So let's jump into our application and let's create a decision table. So let's take one example. So this is a decision table and it has few tabs. So let's understand one by one what each of them means. So the first tab is the table tab, where you have the set of condition and actions defined. So here you can see that I have added the property which is duration of the event. You can add any property of your choice, and then you will have an option of operator selection, whether you want it to be greater than equal to or less than equal to, not equal to. All of this you can specify here. You can also use range operations, start and end, greater than equal to or less than equal to. Okay, so this is also a possibility. You do a save, and then in the return, what do you see? In the return, you can return whatever value you want. You can return of your choice, basically. Okay. And when this condition satisfy, you have the return as vice president, and if duration of the event is greater than equal to 4, we have senior manager here. And if none of this condition satisfies, we have a senior manager. Okay, now this is a return condition. Suppose instead of return, we want to set the property values to some property. Okay, so for that, you can use evaluate all rows option. When you select evaluate all rows, you will see that return condition has gone now. So instead, you will have to select the property. So I can select approver ID. Okay, and then I will have to specify the value. So I'll specify vice president and senior manager. Okay, and for default condition, I'll select senior manager. Okay, so this is what it is when you select on evaluate all rows option. When you select this, you will see that this is disable allowed to return value. So this decision table can either set property values to some property, or it can return the value. So only one condition can be done at one time. So if evaluate all rows option is selected, what will happen is this particular decision table will go to each row and check the condition. Even if the first condition satisfies, it will still go to the next row and check the condition. So this is evaluate all rows. If it is allowed to return value, then when the condition satisfies, it will return the value as and then, and it will exit this decision table. Okay, so this is the difference between them. Now, what are the other things you can see here? Here you can insert the row before or insert the row after. You can add or delete rows. You can insert column before or insert column after, or you can delete the column. As you can see in this action, right, I have added one approver ID, but there is also possibility of adding another column. So suppose I want to add another column here, right? I can select any property of my choice, maybe number of guests, and set it to 200, 300, anything you want, right? So you can also add any number of columns of your choice. Even in conditions, you can add any number of columns. Okay. What are the other things you will find here is show conflict. So this particular option will let you know if there is any conflict in the condition in your decision table. So let me click on this. So it's saying that the decision table is consistent. Okay. In some condition, it will show the conflict. Let me change this evaluate all rows option and then click on save. Then show conflicts. Even then it is consistent. Let me add one row, insert row after, and make it as 8. Okay. Then check what it is showing. Right. Let me save it. And now show conflict. Okay, now you can see you got this error here. Unreachable condition. Click here to highlight details. What it is saying basically is, since it is a return value kind of decision table, when the first row completes, when the first condition satisfies, it returns value and exits from this decision table, right? So in that scenario, if suppose my duration of the event is 9, okay, which is greater than 6. So this condition will get satisfied and it will exit the decision table. It will never ever come and reach this 8 condition, right? So that is the reason it's called an unreachable condition. Okay. If it would have been 2, and if I go to show conflict, you will see that it is consistent. But when I use 8 or anything greater than 6, then it will show me unreachable condition. Okay, let me delete this. Now the next one is show completeness. What it does is, let me, okay, so when I clicked on it, it added another row which is less than 4. So why this is added is, basically whenever we are checking on values, right, duration of the event, we have checked on greater than equal to sign, greater than equal to 6, greater than equal to 4, but we have not checked on the condition which is less than 4, right? So this particular option is telling us that what are the conditions that we have not checked, and if we want to check it or not, it's just giving you the option, right? So it tells you that less than equal to 4 is something that you might want to check. It's upon you that you want it or not, but it's just giving you suggestion. Okay. What are the other option? Export. I can export my decision table. I can also import my decision table. So when I export it, I will see this decision table as an Excel here. Okay. So you can change these values and then import it as well. Okay. This is also a possibility. Now, what are the other thing you see in results? I already told you about evaluate all rows. Okay, so I'll not discuss that again. But the other thing which are there is allowed to update row layout, column layout. It is regarding to the delegation option. So decision table can be delegated to the business user, but we can restrict on the things that we want them to change. We want them to update the layout of row, column. We want them to add any new row or column or not. We want them to be allowed to change the property sets or not. These are the things that you can restrict them. Basically, whenever you uncheck this, right? So when I uncheck this, you will not, you will see all these getting disabled. So when you uncheck this allowed to update row layout and save it, when you try to add any row, it will not give you any option. See, it's disabled now, right? Similarly, when I make uncheck this allowed to update column layout and save, go back to this tab and try to add any column. You see it's disabled. You cannot add any column or you cannot delete any column. So basically I'm restricting the user to not add anything new in my rows or columns, right? You want them to change the property set or not, allowed to build expression, all these kind of checks you can do. Let me do this again and save. Now, the next thing is about the results defined by property. So this is like an optional thing. You can do the same thing as well here, but let me tell you what it does. Suppose what is the results defined by property? First of all, which property, from which property value, you want to set some condition. So let me take the approver ID, right? So when approver ID. Now, when my result is vice president, give my target property, maybe number of guests, or I want to change it to PY note, and I want to give it as approver is vice president. Okay. Now, when the result is senior manager, I want to put as note as approver is senior manager. Okay. Now, this is what you can do. We will also test this. Let me save it now. So preset properties, if you want some property to have some predefined value before even starting a decision table, you can set it. Okay. Now the parameters, so decision table also support parameters. So you can set some parameters in here. You can also, create one column and, create a new param value here and use that param in some other activity also. Okay. So in and out, both you can do. You can also have a pages and classes. Okay. So these are the things that you can do. Thank you everyone for watching this video. We will meet again in my next video. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.